People of Reddit, instead of missed hints, what hints did you catch that got you laid? Story 1. I host a pub trivia night here in town, and my current girlfriend was a regular competitor. I saw her out one night at a different bar celebrating a friend's birthday. We recognized each other and chatted a bit. Then she hit me with this, so I've got a trivia question for you. But if you get it wrong, you have to buy me a drink. Me, I'll give it a shot. I'm pretty smart. If we're actually smart, you'll get it wrong. The question was, what U.S. state and respective capital share none of the same letters in their names? The correct answer is Pierre, South Dakota. I legitimately didn't know the answer, so I didn't even have to throw the question. Story 2. In high school gym class, it was raining, so we were running laps around the gym. A cute girl is running next to me, and we sort of start chatting a bit. Her friends run up behind her and begin chanting, "Mandy's a virgin, Mandy is a virgin." She gets mad and yells back, "I'm working on it." Even I picked up on that. That's how he lost his job as a gym teacher. Story 3. It wasn't a very subtle hint. I was talking to a gal at a bar. She says I have a pierced I said, "Let's go take a look at that." Banged in the parking lot. Story 4. Late night pool party. Most people were nude at this point. Girl swims up to me. "Oh, there's my ex. Cover me." Backs her into my crotch and puts my hands over her tits. If only guys could do the same thing. Story 5. One of my favorite things I have ever heard on the first date. Just because I'm inviting you back to my house doesn't mean we will have sex. Okay, sure, maybe it didn't inherently mean that, but it is exactly what happened. We also both skipped work the next day and hung out. 11 years later, we are both still friends, but never did have a real relationship. Story 6. 3 weeks ago, I went on my first camping trip. I'm a huge city boy or whatever, and I'm not outdoorsy at all, but I wanted to say I've gone camping before. For this reason, I had 0 camping equipment, and one girl in our group, she also happens to be the maid of honor for an upcoming wedding in which I am the best man, brought extra camping gear for me. What a sweetheart. Anyways, fast forward to our first night, and I had my very own 2-person tent to myself. It was awesome. Around 1 a.m., she knocked on the tent entrance and tells me to scoot over. She can't sleep because everyone in her tent, an 8-person tent, was snoring too loud. That's fine, I'm super grateful for her because otherwise I would be sleeping on the grass and getting bit by bugs. And she slides in. I notice she's not wearing any shorts or sweatpants, only an oversized shirt from our alma mater. This was odd to me initially as it was really chilly, but whatever, maybe this is how she sleeps normally. We talked for a little bit, and she asked me how work is going and if I like camping so far. I told her it was pretty cool. It's nice to get away from the city sometimes. She then straight up tells me she's never had sex in a tent before. We had sex in a tent. Story 7. Got out of work at the usual time and went to the same bar as my friends meet up every Friday. Except for this Friday, none of my friends showed up and it was rather slow for the typical happy hour crowd. I asked the bartender Jamie where everyone is, and he shrugged me off. A random girl at the bar says, "But I'm here." The bartender goes, "There's your new friend." I responded by buying my new friend a drink. Worked like a charm. Sometimes friends are the best when they don't show up. Story 8. A girl at the table asked her friend, "Why are you so happy?" The other girl said, "Because I'm getting laid tonight." She was talking about me. Story 9. I emailed to ask my language exchange partner over for dinner and suggested we could work on vocabulary. "We can do things in a kitchen," she replied. "Yes, and things in a living room and things in a bedroom too." Story 10. We were with mutual friends at a hotel and everyone was drinking. About to go to the bar with my buddies when we walk by the pool. A drunk hot chick is in the pool saying, "Somebody come swim with me." Nobody wanted to swim, but I thought this might be a sign. Skipped the bar, went swimming, had water time, smashed, been married for 16 years now. Glad I caught the subtle clue. Story 11. A few years ago, I had a girl and a few friends over for a movie. None of my friends came, but she did. I gave her a beer, she asked if I was having one, but I told her that my driving license is on probation and that I need to have a blood alcohol level of 0. Even one drink would make me go over, and I wouldn't be able to drive her home afterward. She grabs a beer, opens it, and hands it to me. Story 12. When on a date, we were looking at the dessert menu at a restaurant, TGI Fridays, and we didn't see anything we wanted. So she suggested we pick up something from the store on the way home. When we pulled into the parking lot, she was driving, she said, "Here, go get some chocolate sauce." I looked at her confused for a brief moment, and she kept this totally straight face, subtle smile, as if she was waiting for the light bulb to go off, and when it did, I ran into the store, grabbed some Hershey's chocolate sauce. The dessert was really good. Story 13. A girl came to one of my birthday parties in her own car. When it came time to leave the starting location and go to the bar, she said she wanted to ride with me to give me my present. Roadhead ensued. Story 14. I was home from college and hanging out on my front porch with a girl I just met. She was talking about how it's weird that some people sit around all day and don't even go on walks, let alone exercise, then complain about being out of shape. Then somehow that led her to say, "Take us for example. We're both active people in good shape, and we might end up f***ing." I'll be honest, I'm not sure what else was said after that, but I took the not-so-subtle hint, and I took it again when she showed up at my college apartment around midnight, looking for a place to crash. Story 15. A lady friend and I were hanging out one night, and very, very intoxicated. Thankfully, my brain pulled out of blackout mode long enough to remember clips of the night. Discussion about her b****s. She's got phenomenal b****s. I asked to see them. She gives that look and just asks, "No pictures, right?" The next clip is she's topless in front of me, and I think I asked her if she minded if I squeeze them. Next clip, I'm s***ing on those titties. Then she's naked, lying on my couch, and we're talking about a tattoo I didn't realize she had, and her bald p***. Then we're making out. Then she says she's on her period and suggests the shower. Then we're f***ing in the shower. The alcohol wasn't helping my situation, so a lot of shower heads. Then I'm puking in the sink. Story 16. It was the first time I was hanging out with a girl. Her friend was around for a while and said, "If you leave marks on her, I'll get mad." I was confused. Did she think I was abusive? Do you mean marks? The girl in question said, "But I like marks," and looked straight right at me. I smashed real good. Story 17. Was hanging out with a girl one afternoon in college when we both started talking about how it had been so long since each of us had sex. We went to a party that night with an agreement that we wouldn't go home alone, no matter what. Halfway through the party, consisting of mostly people when you pretty well, I asked her if she's found anyone. She says no and asks me. I say no, and liquid courage compels me to say, "Well, how about we go home together?" She says sure. 4.5 years later, she's still my girlfriend, and I moved to Europe to attend grad school at the same university as her. I'd call that a win. Story 18. I did some research over the summer in Missouri when I was an undergrad. I met a woman one afternoon and talked for like an hour about my research. I studied mathematics, so not many people could listen to me talk about what I was passionate about for a very long period of time. And after about 30 minutes in, I finally figured out that she was probably just pretending to like what I was saying because she was into me. Told her we should continue this conversation over a walk. Took about 30 minutes to walk back to my apartment. I invited her in. The conversation didn't last much longer. That was a good day. Story 19. Senior year of college, I and 3 of my guy friends were at this 2-girls apartment. We had all been drinking and it was getting late. One of the girls said, "You guys can sleep in my room if you want," missed hint. I thought she was being a polite hostess, offering up her bed, and she would sleep on the living room couch. Wanting to sleep in the same room as her, I said, "I'll sleep in the living room." Idiot. She went to go to bed in her room, and the rest of us set up in the living room. Her female roommate was like, why didn't you sleep in her room?" "She wanted you to," I explained, "because I thought she would sleep out here." At that point, everyone was telling me to just go into the bedroom. Clearly, I was wanted there. Trouble is, by the time I got there, she was asleep, not wanting to be a creep, and also not wanting to go back into the living room with my tail between my legs. I slept on the ground in the bedroom. She woke up at some point and pretended not to see me because she felt bad. I woke up early in the morning and bounced, hoping she didn't see me. She invited me over the next night. We laughed about the whole thing. Then 5 years later, we live together and have 2 beautiful cat children. Story 20. I had moved out of my hometown for a few years, then moved back. I was practicing kung fu at the time and had found a new place to study back in my hometown. There, I ran into an old French friend of mine from high school. He said, "We should get a drink and catch up." So a few days later, we head out to the bars. We were heading to a place called Habits, but walked past a bar called Animations on our way. Casually glancing in the window, I saw a very attractive blonde who was dressed to impress sitting by herself. I made a quick note of it to my French buddy, who was always looking for some action. We go to Habits and have a few beers, but not much was going on. So we decided to go to Animations to see if that attractive blood was still there. She was, and was, still alone. We grabbed some beers and saddle up next to her. We asked why she's been alone, and apparently she had set up a date over the internet. I think POF.com, this was 2010. And the guy either no-showed or saw her and left, no, away. So the three of us are having drinks, and under the table she puts her hand on my knee. I put my hand on her knee, and she immediately grabs it and moves it to her. I look at my friend, who then leaves. She asks to go and have a cigarette, so we step outside and she immediately flashes me. I drunkenly say, "You know my apartment is literally around the corner from this bar." I never saw her again. She was 39, I was 26. It was the only time I woke up the next day, and my partner in the fun was already gone. Story 21. She took her shirt off. I picked up on that clue because of the times I lay awake, having missed the "she took her pants off" clue a while before that, with someone else. Funny thing is, taking her shirt off wasn't a hint. She was wearing a sweater that pulled the shirt up with it by mistake. Was embarrassed and hid in the sweater for a moment while taking it off. I thought it was a hint and helped her finish removing both. She thought I was smooth as hell. I thought I was so clued in for finally catching the disrobing hint. When her hint is so subtle, even she doesn't catch it. Story 22. I had a long-term girlfriend through most of high school, but she broke things off early in my freshman year of college. Not long after that, I met up with a female friend from high school whom I had always found attractive but, due to having a girlfriend, had never really been interested in. We caught up over dinner, and then afterward, I suggested we continue hanging out and watch a movie. I had no ulterior motives, and I hadn't even thought about the possibility of anything happening. But when I said that, she laughed kind of knowingly, and somehow I just knew that she thought I was trying to have sex with her. But she agreed to my plan, so I figured if she thinks I'm trying to have sex with her and she's going along with it, I may as well try and have sex with her. So I did. She was into it. We had a good time. Story 23. My strangest and yet the most epic hookup story is this. Sitting in a restaurant with this girl next to me, we're with a group of friends, and all of us are more than a little tipsy. She's really cute, playful. She tells me she is in an open relationship. I ask a few questions on that, and a discussion ensues. She gives me a playful look and jabs me with a toothpick in the arm. "Did you just poke me?" I say, "Are you going to poke me back?" she says. So I reach for the toothpicks and she tries to keep them from me by pushing me away with her legs. So I start feeling up her legs, trying to encourage her to pull away from me, which doesn't work. She then puts the toothpicks in her cleavage and insists that she won't let me get one unless I take it with my mouth. So I do. And by this time, my one friend, and also the only sober one, the designated driver amongst us, is thoroughly annoyed with our drunkenly rambunctious behavior. So he insists he drop us off at home, and we walk to his car and she lifts her skirt to flash me her ass. I reciprocate by popping the buttons in my shirt, and she kisses my chest. We hop in the back of the car, and before I know it, we're making out and feeling each other up, and she starts blowing me while I f*** her under her skirt. My mate drops me off at my place and she hops out with me. He sort of says, "Okay then," and drives off. We then started making our way to the bedroom very slowly, which meant f***ing on the kitchen counter, the couch, the coffee table, the dinner table, and eventually, the bedroom. We then lay in bed for hours smoking, listening to music, and doing body shots. Story 24, text from a coworker I had been flirting with. "I would f*** you for a pack of cigarettes right now." She told me about her favorite positions while I was dating somebody else. Later, when I was single, that knowledge came in handy. We were just friends with benefits for many years, still friends now. The best part was how open and communicative she was as a lover. Similarly, another young lady told me that being kissed on the neck always got her going. Later on the first date, we're making out and I start kissing her neck. Honestly, by forgetting what she'd said because I was too wrapped up in the whole kissing her thing to think back and wasn't even trying to get laid that night. But then she said something about how she told me that kissing her neck really turned her on. That's when I knew that I'd be having uncomfortable backseat sex for the first and, thankfully, only time in my life. Story 25. Years ago I was complaining to a good friend of mine that my ex never b***ed me. She said something like, "I just don't get that. As far as I'm concerned, I can't have enough in my mouth." That raised some eyebrows on my part, let me tell you. Shortly after that, hanging out, watching a movie and drinking, as we had done in years before, I put my arm around her and kiss her. She kisses me back and we start making out. She straddles me and grinds out a couple, then she goes down on me and goes. That was awesome. It becomes a regular thing, but just making out. Dry and a blob. Eventually she started dating someone, so we went back to being just friends. Then I started dating someone. We're married to different people, and she has like 3 kids with her husband, but we're still friends. One of the few times, maybe the only time, I've seen sexual activity not wreck a friendship. We were just having fun and enjoying each other. Story 26. Had a friend in college that used to walk with me home when I'd get really f***ed up at the bar. I'd get her and her friends high and we'd talk, and I'd make a bunch of food before I'd pass out in my chair, and they'd pretty much know that was time for them to leave. This happened several times, and nearing the end of the semester after one of these nights, she texted me that, "Maybe if you wouldn't drink so much, you'd get laid more." I figured she was right, but drinking was a whole lot easier to do, so I kind of filed it away under things to do if I ever decide not to be drunk, and carried on with my drinking. The next weekend I started early when the bar was empty, and I sat down at the bar and had a double shot and a beer. People started filing in for the night, and I was getting ready to order my next round and proceed to start getting blackout drunk as usual, when I got a text from my friend. The conversation went, her, "Are you at the bar?" Me, "Yes." Her, "Are you drunk?" Me, "I just finished my first round, so no." Her, "Go home right now, I'll be there shortly." Me, "Why?" Her, "Just meet me there." Me, "Okay." It was only a 3-block walk, but I figured she just didn't want to walk there by herself and didn't want to have to parallel park, so she just wanted to park at my apartment. I walk on home and go into my apartment to wait and text her to just come on in when she gets here, because I'm going to get a bowl ready, and we can smoke, before we go to the bar. Then I remember the text from last week and realized this gal might want me to f*** her. I proceeded to wipe down my bathroom, gather all the trash into one bag, tied up in the kitchen, picked up all the clutter laying around, brushed my teeth, changed shirts, spray cologne, put sheets on my bed. I just finished lighting the candle as she walks in. She looks around and says, "Did you clean, put on cologne, and light a candle because I was coming over?" I respond with a "yeah" and sit down on the couch to spark the bowl, starting to feel like an idiot for thinking she wanted to hop in the sack with me. And that's about when she sat down in my lap, and then we did kisses and other stuff to each other, and I was happy that happened. Story 27. As a personal trainer about 8 years ago, my female client asked me to dinner for what I assumed was just going to be a conversation about her goals. As we were eating and conversing, it came to my attention that she wanted more than just dinner or personal training. As we were finishing up, I bluntly asked her what she wanted from me, to which she replied, "I want to take you out of my car right now and fug the shot out of you." I literally turned around to our waitress and said, "Check, please." We immediately went out to her car in the restaurant parking lot and proceeded to do the horizontal shuffle in the back of her car. I remember leaning against the armrest or the pass door, almost laughing hysterically at the thought of other people watching us as they walked by, especially after finishing, looking out the window and noticing the cars that were there when we started were not there when we were done. Story 28. I had talked to a coworker for a few weeks, and she mentioned going out for drinks sometime. I was a new employee, so I figured out she was just being friendly or whatever. My car was in shape, so she decided to meet me close to home. I was still with my parents, saving for an apartment. Hint 1, she mentioned more than once that she was a woman who needed to be daily at the minimum. I still figured she was just being very friendly and that my work had fewer personal boundaries. While we were at the bar, she mentioned that some of her past men preferred shaved but some liked her to have a landing strip. She then proceeds to pull out her phone and show me pictures of her in various styles. Oblivious at me was like, "Oh, interesting, people at my new job are very, very casual about what they share." We said goodbye. Yes, I was totally unaware, I know. A minute into my drive home, I got a text from her asking me, "Why the did I not kiss you?" The hint hits me like 7,000 hints, and I pull over. I ask her if I could turn around and change that, and then we made out in a parking lot for a while and ended up getting a hotel room to like rabbits that weekend. Story 29. My best friend, who is also my ex's girlfriend's older sister, LOL, would always say she had something to tell me when we were alone, but would never get around to doing it. This was right after her. She broke up with her boyfriend, who had been the first and only person she had done anything with. She knew that I was on the market searching for a friend with benefits because we would talk about everything, and she seemed to be pretty interested in how a friend with benefits worked. I'm really bad at verbal communication, but pick up body language extremely easily. And I could kind of tell that all our talk was putting her in a type of mood, asked her if she ever wanted to try it, and she told me she was considering it a lot more often lately, and blah blah blah. We drove out to the desert and did sexual things for 6 hours straight, until down when we were so tired we knock it out in her car. Got the best blob of my life after I drove her back, and can't confirm it she was not a quitter.